Hello everybody, welcome to Totally Tabled. My name is Shaggy, and today I'm just doing a quick little follow-up video to a video I just posted, my most anticipated solo games of 2024. If you haven't watched that one yet, please go check it out. Lots of great games that I'm anticipating for this year. Now, I've done a similar list for 2022 and 2023, so I thought it might be fun to look back and find out if the games I anticipated then ended up living up to my expectations. So let's go ahead and get started all the way back in the year 2021 when I was anticipating games for 2022. And my number 10 then was Resurgence. And unfortunately, I've received the game, I've opened it up, I've punched out everything, but it just never got to the table. It slipped through the cracks. I don't know how, there's just too many games. And it's a shame because I'm really looking forward to playing this one. It looks fantastic. It's on the Totally Tabled to-do list, so hopefully we can get it played this year. Next up was Carnegie, and this one I did get played and even filmed a complete solo playthrough. I also filmed a video of my first impressions, and spoiler alerts, this one ended up as my number 4 favorite game of 2022. Now, I don't keep really good records of the number of times that I play a game. That's going to become a problem throughout this whole list, but I believe that I've played Carnegie maybe around 10 times, give or take, and I can just say that my feelings have not changed. I still absolutely love this design. Everything I said in my first impressions video stands. I remember expressing a little bit of concern over replayability, but I have not found that to be a problem whatsoever. But keep in mind, it's been a while since I've played it, and I tend to not overplay my games. So replayability is rarely a problem for me. I think the one thing that's really standing out about Carnegie is just how smart and streamlined the AI system is. You're playing against Carnegie as a bot, and there's just a lot of really smart decisions where the management of the system is so simple. You take a lot of turns in that game, so it's really nice that you don't get bogged down in managing the AI. On to number 8, that was Primal. I just received Primal, and in fact, as I'm recording this, Primal is on my table. I am working through the rulebook. I'm hoping to get a playthrough on the channel real soon. I'm liking what I'm seeing so far, but I don't really have any experience to speak to. So really excited to see where this falls in my 2024 list. Number 7 was Earthborne Rangers. Yeah, I was anticipating this one for 2022, didn't come out until 2023, but smashed onto my top 10 solo games of 2023 list at number 2. Incredible game. I've also done a full solo playthrough of the opening scenario and a follow-up first impressions where I go into a lot of detail about why I love this game so much. It really came out at the tail end of 2023, so I haven't got a ton of plays. I'm sort of midway through the campaign, so I don't have a lot more to add from what I've already said. One thing I absolutely love about it is just how easy it is to pop it back onto the table, play a little bit, and then put it right back in the box. That really works for me, so I don't have to play it for long stretches. I can just sort of play it casually, and I think that's really how it works best. I think if you try to binge this one, it might get a little repetitive or a little monotonous, because this really is a super casual experience. I like it in small chunks, and they really made it easy for you to do that and not have to leave it set up. So Earthborne Rangers, still one that I'm really excited about, exceeded my expectations for sure. Now, speaking of 2023, number 6 was Distilled. Another game that was a year late, and it rose up to become my 7th favorite game of 2023. And that just shows you how strong of a year last year really was, because Distilled would be top 5 most years. It's a fantastic game. Beautiful, beautiful production. Flawless. And it really appears to be this, complicated thing, but it's actually a really simple game. It has this cool push your luck card mechanism sort of at the heart of it that's very addictive and fun and thematic. In fact, the theme really comes through and adds a lot of charm to the game. And they did a great job with the solo mode, making it so you're not playing against a bot, but instead you have these goals that you have to meet. And that just makes the solo game super quick, really fun. I love going through these goals, picking which ones I want to try to achieve. Still love Distilled, and I've done a full playthrough of it, so go check that out. And here we go, the big one, number 5, Frostpunk. This was my game of the year of 2022. It's gone into my top 10 solo games of all time. And the fact that it was only number 5 on my anticipated list, I think goes to show just how much distrust I still had of turning video games into board games. And Frostpunk wasn't a video game that I had played or was all that interested in. But reading about the theme and the fact that it was inspired by 2 incredible games, Robinson Crusoe and This War of Mine, that definitely got my attention and got me excited for it. And of course, nothing has changed. Frostpunk is incredible. Ooh, now we go to number 4, Burn Cycle. One of my great regrets is just never getting this to the table. Like with Resurgence, it just fell through the cracks. It looks incredible, beautiful production, of course. I was so excited when it arrived, and I'm racking my brain to try to remember what happened. Probably a combination of just bad timing and, maybe something even more exciting came in at the time. I really can't remember, but this is one that I absolutely plan to get to the table this year. So unfortunately, dropped the ball there, but I didn't drop the ball with the next one, number 3, Lands of Galzir. This ended up being my number 7 of 2022. And this is one that's maybe fallen back for me a little bit because I just haven't really gotten it back to the table. Don't get me wrong, I really love what it's doing, but it's also not entirely in my wheelhouse, being a very casual but also very story-driven game. The mechanisms here take a backseat to the experience of just having a story and making decisions and seeing what happens. That's super fun and it works really well in a family setting, but it is one that I find that I'm not coming back to as often, and I'm favoring games with a little bit more strategic depth. I think a game like Earthborne Rangers works more for me and my personal tastes, but I think especially with kids and stuff, Land of Galzir is really great. But you can check out my full solo play and see it for yourself. Now, my number 2 was Iridia. That hasn't been released yet. It is now, says it's a 2024 release, so hopefully we'll get it this year. And then my number 1 was Weather Machine, and that ended up being my number 3 game of 2022. I love Weather Machine, a fantastic game from Vital Lacerda, beautiful production, and it still remains one of my favorite of his to play solo. I really like how the solo game works. I find it a lot easier to manage the AI than in something like Kanban EV, and yet they're making your life difficult. You have to account for them in fun different ways. I just think it really comes together, and my opinion on Weather Machine has not changed. I haven't gotten to play it a ton, but the few times that I have since recording the video, I've enjoyed those solo plays immensely. I really think it holds up. I don't have my definitive list of my favorite Lacerdas yet. It's something I'm working on. But when I want to play a heavy Euro solo, it's one of the first games I think about. Again, you can check out my full solo play as well as my separate first impressions video for that one. So it looks like for 2022, did a pretty good job of anticipating. Managed to get my number 1, my number 3, and my number 4 of the year. The one I ended up missing there was Arc Nova. That came in as number 2, just behind Frostpunk. And then my number 5 of the year was Endless Winter. So I'm not sure why that one didn't appear on my most anticipated list. I can't remember if I knew about it and it just didn't make my top 10, or if it was something that came out of the blue for me. Hard to remember that. Now, for my most anticipated solo games of 2023 list, I actually ended up doing my top 20. Not sure what got into me there. But don't worry, we can actually ignore 11 through 20 because I haven't played a single one of them. Half of them haven't arrived yet, and the other half I have, but I haven't managed to play them yet. So let's just ignore those. You can go and watch the video and see them for yourselves. Actually, we can run through the top 10 pretty quickly too, because number 10 is Dark Quarter, which has not come out yet. Number 9 was Age of Comics, and that one has arrived not that long ago. Haven't managed to get it to the table yet, but I'm excited to. Number 8 was Pampero, which has not released yet. Number 7 was Scholars of the South Tigris. Now, I have that one, and I am dying to get it to the table. That one is super high on my to-do list. Now, number 6, here we go. Halls of Hegra. Did a full playthrough of it, did a first impressions video, and this one hit my number 3 of 2023. For the longest time, it was my front runner for Game of the Year. It is that good. And it's actually pretty incredible that I was anticipating it because, you know, it's not really a game that would normally catch my attention, particularly early, but I remember running across it and seeing that some of the mechanisms had been inspired by Robinson Crusoe. If you say that about your game, I'm going to anticipate it. It's that simple. So really ended up working out. Still love Halls of Hegra. It's not going to get played a ton, but every once in a while, I'm going to want to return to it and play out again and get crushed. Wonderful survival game with a war theme and tons of clever little mechanisms that all fit together really well. My number 5 is A Legacy of You. Also did a full playthrough of that one. It ended up as number 8 in my top 10 of 2023. Solo-only campaign game, and once again, I'm halfway through the campaign. I'm halfway through a lot of campaigns. I struggle to finish campaign games. This is one I definitely want to finish, though. I'm going to finish it. I'll probably do a video once I get it done, just kind of talking about my final thoughts on it after I'm done with the campaign. So I can't do that here. I've really enjoyed it so far. Again, it's not a game that I would want to binge. It's a game that I want to have a little bit of space between each play. That probably says more about me than the game, but I like to take my time with these sorts of things. It keeps it fresh for me, and so I'm really enjoying Legacy of You. Another beautiful production, too. Oh, and here we go. Number 4 was a pleasant surprise. It was Tamashi, Chronicle of Ascend. Once again, a full solo playthrough of this one. Check it out. This was a real surprise. Now, again, I'm surprised that I was anticipating it this much at number 4. It was a little under the radar, and I think it's still kind of under the radar. This is a fantastic game. Jumped all the way to number 6 on my top 10 of 2023. That's extremely high. 2023 was one of the greatest years for solo gaming of all time. I recently did a video about that as well. I love this game, and I've really just scratched the surface. There's a bunch of scenarios. You can kind of play them out in a campaign, but you can do them sort of in any order you want. So you can also just play them as kind of one-offs, and that's mostly what I've been doing. But that slide puzzle mechanism, I love that. I just love it. It's so much fun. Yeah, I'm still loving it, and I don't hear almost any talk about it. It really seems to have slipped through the cracks for some reason, but I highly recommend it, and I see it getting quite a bit of play this year for me. So, yeah, Tamashi, check it out. Ooh, and here we go. The big one. Number 3, Voidfall. Game of the year. I can't call it a surprise hit because I was anticipating it this much, but definitely a surprise just how much I love this game. Voidfall is getting talked about all over the place. Recently did a solo playthrough. I have my first impressions video up. Check those out. I talk about this in depth. Definitely don't need to say anything more about it. And, you know, not enough time has gone by to have anything change. Yeah, Voidfall is going to get played a ton this year. It's cool to see that both of my games of the year for, you know, the last 2 years are games that I was anticipating, not necessarily at number 1. But, you know, they made the list pretty high. So I think that speaks to, after a dozen plus years in the hobby, I now have a really good idea of what kinds of games are going to appeal to me. There's not a ton of surprises, but you just never know. You never know. Now we're going to round out the list here with a bit of a whimper, because number 2 was Unconscious Mind. Still hasn't come out yet. Still anticipating this game a ton. Can't wait to check it out. And then number 1 was Sleeping Gods Distant Skies, which technically arrived at my doorstep in 2023, but haven't had a chance to get it to the table yet. Of all the games that we've mentioned so far, this one is the highest on my to-do list. Really excited for that. Love Sleeping Gods. No reason to believe that I won't love this one as well. As far as games that I missed, my number 4 of 2023 was Oranienburger Canal. That came completely out of nowhere. No idea how much I was going to love that game. That was a genuine surprise. Obviously I love Rosenberg games, so it's not a surprise in that sense, but just how much I love that one. That is a sneaky good game. I think it's going to end up being a bit of a cult classic in the end. I did a full playthrough of that one as well, so go check that out. And then number 5 was Darwin's Journey, and that's nowhere to be seen on my anticipated list. And again, I can't remember why. I have to imagine that I didn't know about it, because it seems like it would be a game that I would definitely be highly anticipating if I knew about it. So I can't remember, what was up with Darwin's Journey, if it was announced after I did the video. That's certainly possible. But there we go. I guess just a quick final thought. It seems as if I do a pretty poor job of figuring out which games are actually going to get released in the year that they say they are. Hopefully I've done a better job of that with this most current list. But it also looks like I have a pretty good track record of anticipating games that I will end up enjoying. But it takes time to develop that skill. It means you need to play a lot of different types of games. Having a bad experience with a game can be good because it can teach you what you like and what you don't. And then you'll have a better chance of not just being wowed by the beautiful art or the minis or all the hype around a game, but actually be able to look at the mechanisms and the designers and the publishers and know who is making the stuff that you really enjoy. And then you'll be able to anticipate those games. But there we go. I've been babbling for way longer than I meant to. That was a fun exercise. I really had a good time doing that. Hope you enjoyed going along on the ride with me. And I hope you'll stick around for 2024, where we'll be playing a bunch of the games that I've anticipated. Hopefully. Hopefully they will come out. But until next time, thank you so much for watching, and goodbye.